everyone, and welcome to the Red Nation Indigenous Filmmakers Lounge for the 25th RNCI Red Nation International Film Festival. This has been an exciting time for the Native perspective, our Native narrative, and this is day 17 of our festival. The festival concludes on November 30th. We have 105 films to view until November 30th. We have 35 directed by women. We have 73 documentaries. We have 12 student films and 10 experimental. We have 16 events and I'd say over 50 Q&As with our filmmakers in this Indigenous Filmmakers Lounge. So we've been having a lot of fun doing these, and it's been pretty spontaneous and informative and provocative. Today, we'd like to spotlight the conversation series on Voices of the Barrens, and our guest filmmakers are Nancy
Ghertner,
and Nancy is going to introduce.
And we have with us today the sound designer and the field recording specialist for this amazing journey we were on, Vicky Mejia. She is from Colombia and is currently living in Ithaca, New York, teaching at Ithaca College. She herself is a musician and has is a jazz vocalist.
Okay, so I'd like to invite you, Vicky, I'm going to put you on the spot. November 30th, we launched as a concert series 25 years ago, Red Nation Celebration Institute, and we're doing our first fundraiser, and it's Artists in Solidarity for creating systemic change through music, art, and film. And we have Joe Walsh, and we have Jennifer Warrens, and we have Joanne Shenandoah, and a whole array of Native musicians. So I'd love to have you participate if you can.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Can you turn up your sound a little bit and or get closer?
I can get closer.
Okay, I'm gonna get closer too. Yeah. So I want to talk about this film. This film is really incredible. And I love the fact that there's 3 women that we're seeing right now on this screen, and that we have 35 films directed by women. This is very, very powerful. The last 2 years, we had 23 each year. And then this year we have 35. Isn't that exciting? It's
amazing.
It's just like all from a Native perspective. So this is powerful. So Nancy, Voices from the Barrens. I can read the synopsis, but you know what? I prefer you share with our audience what your film is about.
Okay. Well, first of all, when you start the journey, you don't know what the title is going to be. So that always comes quite a bit later in the story. But basically, I had heard about, the film is about the other side of the world from LA and a lot of the films in the festival. Not all, but a lot of them are more on the West or the Midwest. So this is from Maritime Canada and the state of Maine, which at one time were all one region for what we call the Wabanaki peoples, which consists of 5 tribes. And I don't need to go through all that because that's in the film, but basically they are brothers and sisters, and they moved across the region according to the season, to harvest, to gather, to hunt, to fish, to share resources, to marry, whatever. And so they did this all the way up, even past the contact period. There was a lot of strife with the French and the English fighting over this region, but that's not what the film's about. The film is about the fact that they did move, they did share, and they continued past 9/11 to come across the border. So when I heard that there were people moving across the border to help harvest wild blueberries, and it's something they had always done traditionally. I was gravitated to go up there and find out what was happening. So that's the story. And then things happened that we had no idea what happened.
Yeah, that's the magic of filmmaking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially documentary with no script.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you really jumped off the cliff and flew with this one.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't taken so long to get permission from, you know, an Anglo woman getting permission from a people that had always been oppressed, I hate that word because we use it. So how do we use it, Vicky? We use it so like loosely now, oppressed. And it doesn't have any texture to it of what actually happened.
Okay, Nancy, I love that you brought that up because I know that from the colonialization and decolonizing, all of those words, right? And the word that you just brought up.
Yeah.
We are here. We are still here. We have been here, and we are not the 1%. We did not create the borders. And with that knowledge and that fact, I don't even go into unrepresented and all, you know, suppressed and, you know, not visible and all of those downer words, right? Those negative words.
Yeah.
So we, as Native and Indigenous peoples, we're still here.
Mm-hmm.
It's still Native land.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it. You know, it's like, so that's really the bottom line. So I'm happy you brought that up because what we've been doing with the festival for 25 years through these conversations is really engaging and educating not only the general audience, but even our own communities, and not using that dialogue anymore because it doesn't serve us and it doesn't inspire our youth at all. It's very depressing, actually.
Yeah. We didn't find anyone. That's maybe Vicky can answer. No one was anything but totally happy to be on those barrens working because it was not work to them. They were doing something, they were serving the land. Yeah. They were meeting with friends and families that they don't see. And the poignancy of the film and the sadness is how stopping a tradition is devastating. So that word we can use because it is happening now. It's not the past. We can do something about this.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I'm a sun dancer, a traditional sun dancer. And I remember years ago when my kids are really little, they you know, my kids have always been in the sacred circle. I was pregnant in the sacred circle. My kids, this is their life. And you know, the kids couldn't dance that year because we would all get arrested if we had the kids in the sacred circle. So it's in my lifetime, right? This is still like happening. In my kids' lifetime, it's still happening. So we can do something about it, and we are doing something about it. And I think that this festival, through the power of film, we have a moment in our lifespan to educate and rejuvenate and bring our voice to the silver screen, where that is our tool to empower our generations, right? So Nancy, I want to know, like, what inspired you? Like, what inspired you to like take this journey? I love this. I love you already because you had no script. People go like, you have to have this, you have to. I just, no, I don't. I'm just going to do it. Like, what inspired you and pulled everything together? I love that.
Yeah, and that's I wanted to just mention, so I don't forget, that we
Yeah.
had an all-woman crew in 2014 when we started filming. It was just Vicky, myself, and Vanessa Ward, who lives in LA, who we flew out for it. And then she wasn't able to film in 16, and that's okay because she brought Drew, and Drew is one of those soft men that fits right in, and he cooked for us. So we
Oh, I
took
love
Drew with
this.
us and
I'm
lived in
working on your crew.
and then over the next few years, I picked up women. And this is odd. I wish Brian was here because the only crew that was men was from Canada. And I couldn't bring my crew to Canada. You're not allowed to take a crew over there if you can hire people in Canada.
Right.
But that's another whole story about producing that, needs to be told. But
Yeah.
I followed migrant workers in my own region, came to know women and families since about 2001, since 9/11. And when I finished a film about that called After I Picked the Fruit, because I'm in an agricultural region, as is Vicky. She's where the vineyards are, I'm where the apples are. And because of that, we have an influx of people from other countries in a very diverse community. People settle out, live here, just like California, where you have all kinds of languages, Haitiano, Mexican, everything being spoken. My kids grew up with that. So one year I was finished with this feature. I went out, said, I got to see the orchards. I got to go out. I went out and I met Honduranos who had been in Maine harvesting blueberries. And I go, what? You were in Maine harvesting blueberries? Yeah, now we're going back to do wreath making. So I said, I want to know about that. And that's why I went to Maine the following year. And that's where I heard about people crossing the border to work and not having a problem doing that, and then returning to Canada after they had participated in this amazing harvest. Now, why couldn't we do that elsewhere in the United States? Cross borders that, as you said, are not really there for Indigenous people and not really there for anyone. It's an arbitrary thing.
Right.
So you don't get me started on borders, but that's why I went to Maine.
So, this film,
but you know what? I learned a lot. See, that idea I had of labor completely changed because Wabanaki don't consider it labor. They don't consider themselves migrant workers. They're doing a tradition. That's what they think. That's how they feel.
Yeah, well, so the blueberries, right, are very healing property for us, right? And I'm going to make a point right now because I'm bringing up stuff because you're inspiring me, so I'm making notes to ask. So your film is about, it's like rejuvenating, it's putting our hands in the soil, right, and
scoop it up,
and in planting food for the people. And it's very interesting that the festival this year has several films about this, about food and rejuvenating and regeneration of the soil, right? We have like Kiss the Ground. We have in our retrospective food chains, from our farm workers, here in California that bring food to the table, right? And your film Voices of the Barrens. I mean, this is that right now, it's just telling me something that, this is an important issue because it is a sacred ceremony to plant. It is a sacred ceremony to put our hands in the earth. As women, even for men, this is a sacred journey because we are what we eat.
Yeah, I like that sacred journey idea because in terms of this film, they're at that other side of it, the harvesting. Right. And Vicky can talk to this, but during the harvest is their major celebration powwow where they're there working and the only thing they take off for is to go to their celebration and do dancing and drumming. And we were there for that.
That was a lot.
And it's a celebration also of the fact that they can see their cousins and their fellow tribes people. It's pretty amazing.
Vicky, before you respond or share on that, we're going to invite Brian in.
Okay.
Yes. So I'll introduce him.
Yeah. Yes. Hello, Brian.
Turn your video on.
Brian!
Hey, this is rock and roll. It's the filmmakers lounge. We can, you know, it is what it is. Everyone is every conversation has been so different and special in its own way.
Yeah, I was watching Kiss the Ground, and the wind was blowing.
Yeah.
It was very lovely.
Yeah. Well, we tried it inside and the connection wasn't good, so that's why we went outside.
Oh, I see that.
So Vicky, go ahead and respond on what Nancy was suggesting.
No, it was a great experience, at least from my perspective, since I'm not from the United States. I'm actually from Colombia. So this was like a whole new world for me. I enjoyed it so much. I got the chance to bring all of my gear, my sound recorders and my microphones, and record singing, and I just did pretty much everything, and I was like, I was enjoying very much the experience and getting to see that this culture, like the Native American cultures, are not that different from the South American ones, and there are many like they share many how do you say, like, elements on their traditional stories and on roots, the importance of the turtle, all of those things that for some reason I tend to feel very connected with that. And I was telling even Nancy that this film made me think a lot about my grandfather. And I actually met one of the people that we got to interview, which was Matt Dana. He looks a lot like my grandfather, so this was like a whole entire magical time that I was working on this, because I was not just learning from the traditions of all of these tribes, but I was also feeling like so connected with like all of the energy and the flow and the traditions, and feeling so connected to my family as well. So it was a great experience for me. So that's why I kept coming back all the time.
She did.
Well, Vicky, that sharing of your grandpa, I love when that happens, because that to me is a sign that they're there. Like, sometimes when you hear a song and it reminds you of something, that means they're thinking of us, or, even living, like, you'll hear something, and that person, you could call them and say, were you just thinking about me? And they will say, yeah, how do we, and so I love how that works. Yeah.
And it was actually the first time that I was getting out of, like, so when I moved to the United States, I only moved here to the New York State, and I've never got out until Nancy called me for this film. So again, like, sometimes I tend to feel like Snow White, like surrounded by all these amazing animals. Like the whole scenery in Maine is gorgeous, and plus on top of that, I was learning from these tribes and traditions and everything. So I was extremely excited to get on board with the whole project.
Yeah. So Brian, can you turn on your video so we could see you?
I asked him that too.
Yeah, I don't know where he's at. Okay, so
well, let me I can't really introduce him, because then he won't hear it really.
Yeah, and his voice is not on either. So
yeah, I asked him. He thought it was the 30th. He got confused.
Oh.
I wanted to just mention though, when we came to the music and sound design, it speaks to the idea of giving our experience as non-Indigenous, at least to this area. We all have some Indigenous from somewhere in the world. But to this land, we were outsiders, and we were included, not immediately by the hierarchy, but immediately by the people themselves. We were invited to the camps before we had permission to film, because for whatever reason, like maybe something Vicky was saying, there was some kind of remote feeling they had that this was good. And I can't even put words to that. So we wanted the land to be portrayed or to be equal to the people. And we took apart the beginning of the edit. And then when Vicky came and was doing sound design, she had to push out to remind us that we were giving an experience, and we needed to hear the wind and not hear music all the time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard because a lot of people want to drop in a score, even if it's minimalist. So Vicky and I had a little fight going on with some of the other people in post about that. It's a very gentle fight. Women fighting is not a big deal. It's part of life, right?
It's an artistic development.
Right. So that was really important to us. That experience of that we had.
Right.
We had an experience.
Well, I'm glad that Vicky is here because Vicky, you know, sound is a character in a film. So when you invite the wind, like when you were sharing about Kiss the Ground interview the other day, was it yesterday? I don't know what day it is, but yeah, but they were outside and the wind was, that's fine. That's grandmother wind. Yes, I want to hear her. I want to hear, she's speaking, right? So that, Vicky, I'm so happy you fought for that because that's a character. The honking of a horn is a character. All of those elements of sound are characters in a film.
Yes.
Music is a character in a film.
Yeah, I wanted people to basically experience the same thing that I experienced while I was there. I was paying very close attention to my surroundings in terms of sound. It was the same with music. Even though I didn't perform the music, I was somewhat involved in the process, and I really wanted to learn about the significance of each song that we were using and how we could orchestrate it in the film, so we could just like how do you say, like make it its justice, like to like make people to appreciate how much like the value of this kind of traditions. And again, like to me it was very important to provide that kind of experience that I had for like from 2014 up to 2017, 2018. When was the last time that I was in Maine?
2019. We did the sound in 19. Yeah, it's pretty fresh film, Jonelle.
Yeah. So Nancy, how long did it take for you to get the film? Like how long was the process for you?
7 years.
7 years? Yeah.
Yes. Well, we were in post for I would say 9 to 10 months at the end here, maybe a little longer because of COVID. We had to really pull back and we couldn't do color for a long time. But because of that, the patience that I learned with filmmaking has been good for me.
Yeah.
The patience to see where the spirit is taking you, where the story and where the people are taking you. So this is what happened. And I don't know if Vicky even knows this. So for a while, the company was an antagonist because they were closing the camps. They were turning to mechanical harvesting. And even though they wanted us to make the story, they trusted us And that's big.
Yeah.
Trust. They didn't realize that they came off to their own people as antagonists because of the economic stress of losing seasonal harvesting. So guess what? They're changing everything around. They're going to market their brand. All this happened during the film. And if we had stopped in 2017, we wouldn't have had a canceled harvest, a contract breach, and had this whole thing of the world market hitting agriculture. And now the company realizes, I'm going to go and participate in a panel discussion about this film, because this film is saying some truth that I wasn't able to say. I don't know how, I don't want to go there too much, Joelle, but
Jonelle. It's okay.
Yeah, Jonelle. Yeah. But it's happening right now. This is now.
Well, that's the thing about when you do something new and you're a first time doing something in anything, right? It's this process that happens, and it's good. It's a healthy thing. It's a healthy thing. So Brian's on with us, and hi, Brian. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Great.
So Nancy,
Sorry I'm late.
it's all good. We have about I'd say about 4 more minutes, but Nancy, can you introduce Brian?
Sure. Brian Francis is a very amazing man. He is a Canadian First Nation Mi'kmaq. His brother I met, who introduced me to Brian, and Brian I would consider my ally. If he called me on the phone and asked me to come to film the lobster stress and crisis, if I could cross the border, I would find a way to get up there. And besides that, Brian is himself a producer, director, an interpreter, and he just released, no, that's not, you don't say release. He just put on, no, yeah, he released a book just about maybe 2 weeks ago called Between Two Worlds. He photographs, he paints. So he's a very talented man, and he would never say that.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
Can't complain. So
I'm very, I'm sorry that I'm late. I got my time zones kind of mixed up there.
no worries. Can you share with the audience how you got involved with this film about blueberries and the harvesting of the sacred food?
Sure. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm very honored to be part of this, the film festival, the Red Nations Film Festival. I've always been, since I started my producing career, I've always had a dream to be part of that. And because it's, I kind of see it as recognition by our own people, which is important to me. And, but I've been going to the blueberry grounds for like ever since I can remember, ever since I was a kid. And even though we travel like for 6 hours to get there, it was always, it's become a tradition. And it's been part of my life, a very important part of my life. And I think just being there, I think the film found me, because I'm always there. And it was a very good experience to work with the film, to tell the story of and how important a role that we played, our people played in the industry. I guess it's kind of a twofold, because they see it as an industry where we see it as a tradition, like going, I'm going to say migrant workers, but we're really we're really just traveling on our lands, our territory, and so it's kind of like you're mixing two worlds actually, because we wanted to be there, we wanted to be on the land, and we wanted to be part of that harvest. And I guess it was beneficial for the industry because we were very good at it. And we did a job that not a lot of people, like even the locals, wouldn't want to do that because it's hard work.
Yeah.
So it's really I guess it's a story about people, more so than about the industry.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you share that because you know, it's really essential because that's bringing food to our table, and the blueberries is like a very sacred food because it's anti-toxic. It's amazing for us, you know. So I consider it a very sacred food.
And actually, Jonelle, the berries are indigenous. When you clear land up there, these wild blueberries come up, and they're low bush. They're like 12, 18 inches. They're not like these high planted ones with the big fat berries. These are little berries.
Yeah, I bet they're so delicious.
Yeah.
So we only have a few more minutes, unfortunately, but I wanted to ask each one of you, what was a magic moment or a funny moment or challenging moment, any one of those, like a moment that you had on the film that was like your aha moment? Nancy.
Okay. I almost told it already, was that I'm now accepted as a spokesperson. No, but okay. The most magical moment for me was that we happened to be there when the harvest was canceled in 2017. And I happened to find Hubert, Brian's brother, who was visiting his daughter. And I took him out to the camp that was all shuttered up. No one was there because the harvest had been canceled due to a contract being lost in the world market. And there he is standing. And I happened to find a young woman named Camille Howard, who's been helping us, who barely knew how to operate a camera because she's a writer. But we put the tripod up. We said, Hubert, stand there. And that was like amazing to me that we caught a real moment, like a news story.
Yeah.
And that would not have happened. And actually the company drove out and we thought they were spying on us.
Yes, I love you,
But
Dad.
it turned out that they actually probably wanted us to be there, but they couldn't say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, Vicky, what was a moment for you?
My aha moment. I have several, but
Yeah.
it was funny because when I went to Maine, I lost my entire cell phone service, which was very frustrating and stressing for me because I need to like keep in communication with my family back in Colombia every single day, every single night, and we stayed there for the first time we stayed there for 10, it was just like a really long week or something. I don't remember at this point. But once we went into the fields and I actually got the experience of do some raking. That was like that was impressive, especially because as Brian said, that this is tradition and this is something that they appreciate so much. Because I was constantly concerned because it happens during summertime, the sun just like super hot on top of everybody, and it's a very hard work, but everybody seems to enjoy it so much. So I really wanted to go through that experience, and I felt really good doing that. I did a really terrible job because obviously I'm not used to do that, but that was like my aha moment where I was like, these people are amazing, this tradition. Wow, mind blowing.
Yeah. So you became part of part of it for a moment.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Yeah, yeah. And Brian?
Well, it's sort of hard to find a moment where it was like aha moment, but it was it's really like every day you wake up in the morning. It's like you get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and you go out there and you experience like I was more of a participant in the harvesting rather than participant in the film. But I got to do both, and it was being out there in the summertime in the morning is really special, because you're with the elements, you're surrounded with the elements, and it's really it's almost like meditation, because you're in your own world. You're even though it's hard work, you're trying to fill up those boxes, and you're talking to yourself, and you're talking to the berries, and sometimes you're they're not good words, but it's really like an environment that you're experiencing, and that to me is always what brings us back to the fields.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to wrap this up, but I want to let our viewers know to encourage you to visit rednationff.com and see this beautiful film. It is a gorgeous film, and I highly recommend that, once you view Voices of the Barrens, that you, reach out to Nancy and Vicky and Brian, and, and let them know. You can let them know on our Facebook page, or maybe visit them. Is there a website for the film?
Yes.
Yeah.
The same name as the film. And also we're on Instagram. And if you go to Red Nation, you'll easily find us because of the following that's going on, which is why we love Red Nation, because they post a lot on all the social media, and they are really helping us to get the word out. And we look forward to some streaming opportunities because of your film festival.
Yeah, absolutely. And I pray that you pick up distribution. And one thing that we offer our filmmakers is we have Red Nation Television Network. We were online streaming before Netflix or Hulu. The only other online streaming source was YouTube, and they were doing it very little back then, 500 years ago. But we offer our filmmakers an opportunity to stream their film on our network. So Nancy, when you're ready and you want to talk about that, you have a seat at our table always. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I encourage you to see this film, everyone. It's a gorgeous film. And Nancy, keep making movies. Vicky, keep doing the sound and playing music, and you're invited to perform at our concert series on the 30th. Let me know, contact me. And Brian, thank you so much for making this movie with Nancy. It means a lot. And blueberries are sacred. They're sacred.
Yeah.
So, and we didn't get into the Haudenosaunee, but Nancy, we will another time.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting us. We appreciate it. And so lovely to be with you for this time.
Yeah, same here. Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
Keep making movies.
Bye.
Yeah.
Rednationff.com.